Let's begin by offering our respects to the founder Acharya of ISKCON, His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare Ram, Ram Ram.
Srila Prabhupada ki
Jai.
Jai. Om Agyana Timirandasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshur Unmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Nama Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Presthaya Bhutale Srimate Bhakti Vedanta Swamin Itti Namine. Namaste Saraswate Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschatya Deshatarine. He Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dina Bandhu Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostute Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vrishabhanu Sute Devi Pranamami Hari Priye Vancha Kalpa Taruvyascha Kripa Sindhu Vyaevacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha. Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shrivasati Gaura Bhakta Vrinda. Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. Please repeat after me. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
Om Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
Okay, so we welcome all of you to our weekly Bhagavad Gita classes. We have with us here today Lavina, Meena Bharwani, then we have Auntie Neeta, Ayush, Divya, Devina, Disha Jadwani, Hema Bangari, Jagrati Kosaraju, Karuna Jadwani, Khushbu, then we have Lal and Mehak Melwani, then we have Manju, Meena Bharwani, Mehak Bakshani, N.C. Venkatchari. I don't know who is 1 plus 3T. Then we have Pavani. Who's that? Sorry?
Sonal.
Oh, Sonal. Welcome, Sonal, to our classes.
Thank you.
Then my parents are there. We have Ritu Lalwani, Saket, Shivani, Venkatesh A. Is there anyone I've left out? Because it keeps fluctuating here. And I think I mentioned Ranjit Das. Okay. So what did we see in the previous class? We finished with chapter number?
5.
5. What's the title of chapter 5? Transcendental knowledge. No, that's chapter 4.
Action of Krishna.
So far, we have finished 5 chapters.
Karma Yoga. Action of
Karma
Action in
Yoga is
Krishna.
chapter 3. Chapter 5 is Karma Yoga, action in Krishna.
And Krishna
consciousness.
consciousness. Yeah.
Okay, very nice. So here in chapter 5, okay, basically in chapter 1, what have we seen? What are the yoga systems that we have seen so far? We have seen Sankhya Yoga or Jnana Yoga, which is the analytical study of the difference between the body and the spirit. When Krishna begins his instruction to Krishna, he begins by giving this knowledge of the difference between the body and the soul. So that is Sankhya Yoga, also known as Jnana Yoga. And then he spoke about Karma Yoga, about working, doing your duties, but giving the results to Krishna. Then that was connected to transcendental knowledge. And then again, Krishna came back to Karma Yoga. So you see this first section of the Bhagavad Gita, which is the first 6 chapters are basically concentrated on Karma Yoga. Do your duty, but give the results to Krishna. That's why this is subtitled as the Karma section of the Bhagavad Gita. Now Krishna is going to talk about Dhyana Yoga. Dhyana Yoga is also called as Ashtanga Yoga. Now in chapter 5, if you see, Arjuna begins chapter 5 by his confusion. And he had the same, essentially the same question in the beginning of chapter 3 also, which is, what should I do? Should I renounce work? Or should I fight this war? So what should I do? It's Jnana versus Karma. Arjuna is confused between Jnana, renunciation of work, and Karma, work in devotion. So then Krishna replied that both are the same. Both are good in the sense that why both are the same? Of course, there are some differences. But here essentially Krishna says both are good in the sense that both will lead you to liberation. Both can give you bhakti. Then Krishna goes on to explain in detail about Nishkama Karma Yoga. Not be attached to the results. To do your duties, do your prescribed duties, but don't be attached to the results. Give the results to the Lord. Then towards the end of chapter 5, here Krishna said how one can attain the same stage of Nishkama Karma Yoga by doing Ashtanga Yoga. So here in 27-28, towards the end of chapter 5, Krishna has described about the process of Ashtanga Yoga. And then, of course, he ends the chapter by giving us the greatest peace formula. What is the greatest peace formula? Greatest peace formula, Krishna says, is this Bhoktaram Yagya Tapasam. You see Krishna as the ultimate beneficiary of all sacrifices and austerities. One may do tapasya austerities, one may do some yagya sacrifices, maybe even to please some other devata, but ultimately everything is going to Krishna. So Krishna is the ultimate beneficiary of all sacrifices and austerities. Then Krishna says he's Sarva Loka Maheshwaram. He is the supreme lord of all the planets and the demigods. Then he says he is Suhridam Sarva Bhutanam. He is the benefactor. He is the well-wisher of all the living entities, not only human beings, not only devatas, but of all the living entities. Now, if we can understand these 3 things, then one can attain Shantim. Krishna says Shantim. One can attain peace. So this is the greatest peace formula. If we can understand this and apply this in our life, then there would be no conflicts. No, there would be no conflicts in the name of religion. There would be no conflicts in the name of properties and so many other things. Okay, so now, as we discussed here, Krishna has touched upon Ashtanga Yoga. He says that you can get the same results of Nishkama Karma Yoga by doing Ashtanga Yoga. So therefore, now in chapter 6, Krishna in detail is going to explain this Ashtanga Yoga or Dhyana Yoga. Therefore, chapter 6 is titled as Dhyana Yoga. So after he explains Dhyana Yoga, then he gets into Bhakti Yoga. So he has explained Jnana Yoga, he has explained Karma Yoga, now he will explain Dhyana Yoga in chapter 6. And then Krishna touches upon Bhakti Yoga and he recommends Bhakti Yoga. So one may ask this question: if Krishna wants one to follow Bhakti Yoga, why does he explain Dhyana Yoga in so much detail? Why does he explain Karma Yoga in so much detail? So this answer we will see as we proceed in the chapter, or rather towards the end of the chapter, we will answer this question before we touch upon Bhakti Yoga. Does anybody have any question from the previous class? Who can read today?
I can.
Okay, thank you, Ayush. See, this is our yoga ladder, which we have seen previously. We didn't see it in full. So the yoga ladder, here below we have Karma Kanda. Of course, below Karma Kanda is sinful activity. There is no respect or any consideration for the rules and regulations. Karma Kanda is sense gratification, but regulated sense gratification within the framework of Shastra. But it is not meant to please the Lord. There is no word called Karma Kanda Yoga, because when we say yoga, it means there is some element of bhakti, some element of wanting to please the Lord is there. Higher than that, Karma Kanda is Sakama Karma Yoga, where one is attached to the fruit of the work and work itself. But at the same time, there is some tinge of wanting to please the Lord. Above that is Nishkama Karma Yoga. One is attached to work, but one is detached from the fruits of the work. So this is what Krishna has in detail explained. Nishkama Karma Yoga. Now, higher than that is Jnana Yoga, or the speculative knowledge of Brahman, or the knowledge of the spirit soul, plus austerity is there. Now, higher than Jnana Yoga, we have seen already Jnana Yoga, Nishkama Karma Yoga, Sakama Karma Yoga, Karma Kanda, we have already discussed. Now, Krishna is going to explain Ashtanga Yoga in detail. Now, as we go higher in this yoga ladder, there is more renunciation and more knowledge. Knowledge is increasing and also renunciation is increasing as you go higher up the yoga ladder. And on top of the yoga ladder is Bhakti Yoga. Now, when a yogi, when a practitioner is transitioning from Nishkama Karma Yoga to Jnana Yoga. Here in Jnana Yoga, of course, Jnana Yoga is all about leaving your house, leaving your family, leaving your duties and going to the forest. That is Jnana Yoga. But in the beginning stages of Jnana Yoga, that is not possible. Jnana Yoga, I'm sorry, I meant Ashtanga Yoga. When one is transitioning from Jnana Yoga to Ashtanga Yoga. Ashtanga Yoga is all about going to the forest and leaving your family and home. Also as Jnana Yoga. But the point Krishna is going to make in chapter 6 is you cannot leave the house, you cannot go to the forest, you cannot leave your duties, you cannot leave your prescribed duties and go to the forest until your senses, your mind is completely purified. Because if you do that, then what happens? Your mind is still dwelling. You still have the mentality, you still have the enjoying mentality. And then there will be no success for one in Ashtanga Yoga and Jnana Yoga. So Nishkama, one has to go through Nishkama Karma Yoga. One purifies one's mentality, one purifies one's mind, one purifies the desire for sense gratification. And then only one can leave the home and go to these other yoga systems that require one to leave the house. Okay, we will see that as we proceed. So chapter 6 is titled Dhyana Yoga. It has a total of 47 verses. But before we start with the verses, we need to see the benefit of learning, reading, reciting, chanting this particular chapter. So this is from the Gita Mahatmya. Gita Mahatmya is a conversation between Lord Shiva to Goddess Parvati. And this is a conversation originally between Lord Vishnu and Goddess Lakshmi. Okay, so what is the story go? It is said that there was a village called Prathishthanpur by the bank of the Godavari river. And in this place, there was a king called Janashruti. Now, this king Janashruti was very much loved by his people because he did a lot of charity, he did a lot of austerity, and he did a lot of opulent yagyas. Because he did a lot of opulent yagyas, the Devatas were pleased with him. So there was nice rainfall in the right quantity, in the right time. And because of that, the fields were very fertile, the crops were growing nicely, and there was surplus food for all the citizens. And the fumes of the yagyas would even reach the gardens of heaven, it is described. And there, in the gardens of heaven, there are kalpa vrikshas or desire trees. So the leaves of these desire trees would turn black because of the fumes of this yagya, and it would appear as though those trees are bending down to bless him for his opulent yagyas. And as I said, the demigods were very pleased with him. And once the demigods, they took the form of swans, and they were flying. And as they were flying, they even flew above the kingdom of this king Janashruti. So as they were flying in Pratishtanpur, there was one particular devata, one particular swan. His name was Bhadrashva. So this particular swan, this particular devata Bhadrashva, when they were flying over the kingdom of Pratishtanpur, he went ahead, he went faster than the other swans. So the other swans, the other devatas asked him that, why are you going so much ahead? Don't you see that this is actually the kingdom of a very great king? And you don't have any consideration for this great king. You should slow down and you should have some consideration. But why are you just rushing ahead? So that time, Bhadrashva, he said that, is your king as powerful as the sage Raikva? He says, is he as powerful as the sage Raikva? Now, and when he said this, this king Janashruti was actually on top of, on the terrace of his palace, and he heard this Devata saying, mentioning Raikva. So now the king, he comes down from his terrace, and he tells his chariot driver, the chariot driver's name is Maha. So he tells his chariot driver Maha that please go and search for this great sage Raikva and make more enquiries about him. So Maha goes in search of this sage Raikva. He goes to many places. He goes to Kashi, he goes to Gaya, he goes to Mathura, and he's not able to find him anywhere. Finally, he finds him in Kashmir, right there in North India. And he sees him sitting outside a temple on a cart. He's sitting on a cart outside the temple under a tree. So as soon as Maha, the chariot driver, sees the sage Raikwa there, he goes to him and he starts to make inquiries. Where do you live? What is your full name? You are such an elevated person. Why are you sitting in this condition outside the temple under a tree? So he starts making inquiries. And Raikwa replies that I am fully satisfied. I do not require anything. Now, Raikwa, of course, he's a very advanced sage. And he is able to see through the person. So he sees that this person, Maha, who has come here, he's not come here to surrender. He's not come here to make spiritual inquiries. He's just come to make some random, unnecessary inquiries about me. So he's not interested in continuing with this conversation with him. So anyway, then Maha goes, Maha understands that he's not going to be able to get more information from him. So Maha goes back to the king and he tells him that, okay, this particular sage Raikwa is in this place, is outside this temple in Kashmir. And then the king, what he does, immediately he leaves for Kashmir and he takes with him many gifts, many gifts for sage Raikwa. And then he goes there and he sees the sage Raikwa and he falls at his feet and he says that, I have brought all this jewelry, all this silken cloth for you as a gift. Please accept it. At that time, the sage is very, very angry. So the sage Raikwa tells him that, oh, foolish king, please load all these things back on your chariot and please leave, because he is not interested in these gifts. So he tells him, please leave the place. That time the king understands his mistake, and now there is devotion in his heart, and now he surrenders to sage Raikwa and he asks him for forgiveness and he requests him, please be merciful to me. So then because now the king has become submissive and he is inquiring with a very submissive attitude, then he asks him the question, how have you achieved such high renunciation and devotion? With a submissive attitude, he asks him this question, how come you have attained so much devotion and such high renunciation? So that time, Raikwa says, guess what he says? What do you think he said? What do you think Raikwa said?
By practicing chapter 6 of Bhagavad Gita.
Yeah, practicing and daily reciting. Okay. So he says that every day I recite chapter 6 of the Bhagavad Gita. So remember, this is the Falashruti of reading this particular chapter. So he says that every day I am reciting chapter 6 of the Bhagavad Gita. So then the king hears the 6th chapter from Raikwa, and every day the king also starts to recite chapter number 6. So in course of time, an airplane arrives, and it takes the king to Vaikuntha. And then after some more time, an airplane arrives and also takes Raikwa back home, back to Godhead. So what is the Falashruti of this particular chapter? Attain detachment and attain service to the lotus feet of Lord Vishnu. Because when one goes to Vaikuntha, one is engaged in the service of Lord Vishnu. So this is the Falashruti. Now, what is the connection between chapter 5 and chapter 6? So as we discussed previously, at the end of chapter 5, Krishna explains how to achieve liberation through Nishkama Karma Yoga. And at the end of the chapter, he explains how to achieve that same liberation through Ashtanga Yoga. So those two shlokas that we saw towards the end. Now in chapter 6, Krishna will describe the process of Ashtanga Yoga in great detail. Before practicing, but of course, we must remember that before one practices the advanced stage of Ashtanga Yoga, one must become purified by Nishkama Karma Yoga. So one has to go through that ladder, right? One goes through that yoga ladder that we saw, and when one is purified, when one's mind and desires are purified by Nishkama Karma Yoga, only then one can be in full control of the mind, and only then one becomes indifferent and unaffected by all material things, and only then one can leave home and go to the forest and practice the advanced stages of Ashtanga Yoga. Ashtanga Yoga has two stages, the beginning stage and the advanced stage. So when one is doing the beginning stages of Ashtanga Yoga, one has to do Nishkama Karma Yoga simultaneously to be completely purified. And only then, when one is completely purified and one has the mind under full control, only then one can proceed to the advanced stages of Ashtanga Yoga. Otherwise, what will happen if one takes premature renunciation? It will, and if the mind is not under control, then again the mind is going to be wanting and desiring to go back to enjoying what we were enjoying previously when we were in the comforts of our homes with our families. So then what happens? Then the yogi, the practitioner, he falls down. So this is what happens with so many other bogus gurus. No, they try to do some things, but then they fall down, and then it's setting a bad example. It's not good for them. It's not good for society, and also people lose faith in spirituality. Of course, some of them are doing it only with the intention of cheating the people. But sometimes a practitioner may fall down if he takes premature renunciation. If one is leaving the home and going to the forest and practicing Ashtanga, the advanced stage of Ashtanga Yoga or Jnana Yoga, then one has to be fully prepared that my mind is completely under control. So this chapter is divided into 6 sections. We will see them as we proceed. Section 1 is subtitled Advancing in Yoga through Detached. Through detached work. Ashtanga yogis, like Nishkama Karma yogis, engage in detached work to advance. So both Ashtanga yogis and the Nishkama Karma yogis are engaged in detached work. Detached work means you work, but you're not attached to the results of the work. So let's hear the first shloka.
अथ षष्ठोऽध्यायः श्रीभगवानुवाच अनाश्रितः कर्मफलम् कार्यं कर्म करोति यः स सन्न्यासी च योगी च न निरग्निर्न चाक्रियः.
The Supreme Personality of Godhead said, "One who is unattached to the fruits of his work and who works as he is obligated is in the renounced order of life, and he is the true mystic, not he who lights no fire and performs no duty.
See, again and again, Krishna is stressing on being unattached to the fruits of the work. This is very, very important in for one to advance. If one has to do Ashtanga yoga, one should have perfected Nishkama Karma Yoga. Why is Krishna saying this at the beginning of Ashtanga Yoga? Although Ashtanga Yoga is talking about leaving home and going to the forest, here Krishna is making it clear in the very beginning itself, before he goes into the great details of Ashtanga Yoga, that again you have to be unattached to the fruits of your work. Why? So that Arjuna is not confused, so that we are not confused. Already Arjuna has expressed his confusion previously, isn't it? Beginning of 3rd chapter, beginning of 5th chapter. So here Krishna is making it very clear that you have to be unattached to the fruits of the work before you can go to proceed to Ashtanga Yoga. And such a person is a true mystic. Such a person is the one who is truly in the renounced mentality. The renunciation is not about renouncing home. Renunciation is actually about renouncing the mentality for sense gratification. It's not only about renouncing sense gratification, but it is also about renouncing the mentality for sense gratification, renouncing the desire for sense gratification. So Krishna is saying such a person is a true mystic. Such a person is a real transcendentalist, not he who lights no fire and performs no duty. Now, what kind of, when here Krishna is talking about lights, no fire. So actually the Brahmanas, they do yagyas, right? They do Agnihotra yagyas. One of the duties of the Brahmanas is to do these Agnihotra yagyas, the fire sacrifices. So when one is in the forest, one has given up his prescribed duties and gone to the forest to do Ashtanga Yoga. Then he lights no fire and he performs no duty, isn't it? So Krishna is saying actually one who has renounced the fruits of his work, such a person is a true mystic, not one who simply lights no fire and performs no duty. Because if he has not given up the mentality for sense gratification, then he is not a true mystic. See, this is called as Markata Vairagya or false renunciation. If one takes premature renunciation, if the mind is still dwelling on, oh, I want to enjoy my senses, then that is called as false renunciation. Srila Prabhupada explains here in this purport. Monkeys make an external show of renunciation by not accepting clothing and by living naked in the forest. In this way, they consider themselves renunciants, but actually they are very busy enjoying sense gratification with dozens of female monkeys. Such renunciation is called Markata Vairagya, the renunciation of a monkey. Markat means monkey, no? So that kind of a renunciation is false renunciation, like a monkey renunciation. One cannot be really renounced until one actually becomes disgusted with material activity and sees it as a stumbling block. One second. Oh, can you still see the screen?
Yes, yes.
Okay. I'm trying to move this bar here. Okay. So one cannot be really renounced until one actually becomes disgusted with material activity and sees it as a stumbling block to spiritual advancement. Renunciation should not be falgu or temporary, but should exist throughout one's life. Temporary renunciation or monkey renunciation is like the renunciation one feels at a cremation ground. When a man takes a dead body to the crematorium, he sometimes thinks, this is the final end of the body. Why am I working so hard day and night? Such sentiments naturally arise in the mind of any man who goes to a crematorial ghat. However, as soon as he returns from the cremation grounds, he remains engaged in material activity for sense enjoyment. This is called smasana vairagya or markata vairagya or false renunciation. So this is just only temporary for some time when we see death or we see somebody in a crematorium ground, we get those feelings that, oh, why am I working so hard? Finally, I also have to be here, right? But then again, we come back home and then again we are into our material sense gratification. So this is called false renunciation, Markata Vairagya or Falgo Vairagya. So this is something that Krishna does not recommend.
Yam sannyāsamiti prāhur yogam tam vidhi pandava nahya sannyasta sankalpo yogi bhavati kaschana.
What is called renunciation you should know to be the same as yoga or linking oneself with the Supreme. O son of Pandu, for one can never become a yogi unless he renounces the desire for sense gratification.
See, previously in chapter 5, in the beginning of chapter 5, Krishna said that karma and jnana or karma yoga and Sankhya yoga are the same in the sense that both of them lead to liberation. We just discussed at the beginning of the class. Both lead to liberation. In that sense, both are the same. Here, what Krishna is saying, here he is comparing sannyasa, renunciation with yoga. So what is he saying? What is called renunciation, sannyasa, you should know to be the same as yoga. Yoga means what? Linking to the Lord, linking to the Supreme. So Krishna is saying that what is renunciation, what is sannyasa is the same as yoga, linking with the Supreme. Why? Why is it the same? Why is it the same? Because both require renunciation. Both require renunciation. Both require detachment. Okay. Then what is Krishna saying? One can never become a yogi. One can never link with the Lord unless he renounces the desire for sense gratification. Now in sannyasa, in renunciation, yes, there is renunciation. But also when you try to link with the Supreme, with whatever means, it may be karma yoga, or it may be jnana yoga, or it may be dhyana yoga, or it may be bhakti yoga. Any path, right? There also there is renunciation. And what is it? What does renunciation mean? It means renouncing the desire for sense gratification. So we discussed previously, renunciation does not mean only to renounce sense gratification. It also means renouncing the desire for sense gratification, Krishna is saying. So we have to renounce even the desire for sense gratification. See, Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur, he is one of our acharyas in our disciplic line, and he says, one who has not renounced his intention to enjoy sense gratification, that is to say his hankering for material fruits, cannot be a yogi. So even your intention to enjoy sense gratification should be given up. That is real renunciation. Okay, so as we previously said, true renunciation is not only renouncing sense gratification, it also means renouncing the desire for sense gratification. A real sannyasa yoga or bhakti means what? Knowledge of one's constitutional position as living entity and acting accordingly. So what is the constitutional position of every living entity, every soul? Our constitutional position is what? By nature, we are parts and parcels of the Lord. Our constitutional position, our real position is that we are the servants of the Lord. So we have no separate independent identity. We are parts and parcels of the Supreme. This is the constitution of every one of us. But now we are in a conditioned state. We have accepted this material body. We are entrapped in this material world. So therefore we are in a conditioned state. Because of this conditioned state, we think that I am man, I am woman, I am Indian, I am American, I am rich, I am poor, I am this, I am that. So this is a conditioned state. We think that we are the controllers. We think that we want to control everything. We want to dominate. We want to own so many properties. But that is the conditioned state of life. We want to become the masters. In the material world, if you say that I'm a servant, you are looked down upon. Nobody likes to say that I'm a servant, isn't it? Everybody likes to be the master. Everybody wants to be the boss. Everybody wants to be the one who's in control. But our actual position is that we are servants. That's what we are. That's why if you say actually whoever we may be, whatever we may be, we are all serving. The husband is serving the wife is serving the husband, the children are serving the parents, the CEO of Microsoft is serving his customers, right? People who are working under him are serving the boss. So the president of the country is serving the citizens of his country. So everybody is serving, no matter who one is, everybody is serving, everybody is working as a servant only. But because we are in a conditioned state, we think that we are masters. So what is the need? What has to be done? What is the solution? We need to revive our original constitutional position. So when we give up the material body, then we can revive the original constitutional position. Just as how water, what is the natural state of water? Water is liquid. So water by nature flows, because liquid by nature it flows, isn't it? But if we artificially put it in a condition, if we put it in artificial condition, okay, below 0 degrees, freezing point, then now that water has become ice, it has frozen. Now that ice will not flow, because now it is in an artificial condition. Like that, we are also in this artificial or in this conditioned state, because we have accepted this material body. So how to make the water flow again is by again bringing the water to its natural condition. You again put it at the room temperature, then again the ice will melt, and then the water will again flow. So to revive the original constitutional position, we have to bring the water in its natural ambience. In the same way, when we give up this material body, then we are in our natural state, or in our constitutional state.
आरुरुक्षोर्मुनेर्योगं कर्मकारणमुच्यते योगारूढस्य तस्यैव शमः कारणमुच्यते.
For one who is a neophyte in the Eightfold Yoga system, work is said to be the means, and for one who is already elevated in yoga, cessation of all material activities is said to be the means.
So Ashtanga Yoga has eight parts, right? It starts with Yama, Niyama, Asana, and then it goes right up to Samadhi. So this is, there are two. One is the advanced stage, and one is the beginning stage. Yoga Ruduksha stage is the beginning stage of Ashtanga Yoga, and Yoga Rudha stage is the advanced stage. So what is Krishna saying here? He is describing the two stages, the advanced stage and the initial stage. So one who is a neophyte, one who is new, right? One who's in the beginning stage of the Ashtanga Yoga system, work is said to be the means. So because one is not fully in the renounced mentality, he still has to engage in Nishkama Karma Yoga. Work is said to be the means. So as I discussed previously, in the beginning stage of Ashtanga Yoga, one has to simultaneously be engaged in Nishkama Karma Yoga, because he is not so renounced, nor he is so advanced to completely stop all activities. So one who is in the beginning stage, work is said to be the means. And for one who is already elevated in yoga, one who is in the advanced stage, now that his mind is under control, then cessation of all material activities is said to be the means. So to stop all material activities, one has to be in the advanced stage. Here, one is advanced enough, one is renounced enough in his mentality to be able to give up all material activities. Okay, but if one is a neophyte, one is in the beginning stage, then he has to simultaneously do Nishkama Karma Yoga along with Ashtanga Yoga. Otherwise, again, is the problem of premature renunciation. So see here, the beginning stages, see Ashtanga Yoga has 8 parts. So the first 6 are in the beginning stage. And Srila Baladev Vidyabhushana, he's one of our acharyas. He says that the last 2 stages are the advanced stage. So what are these 8 stages? Let us see. Yama is the don'ts, what we should not do. What is sinful activity? Niyama is what we should do. The rituals, the exercises, the daily meditations, what we should do. Then asana. Asana is hatha yoga. In the modern times, yoga is equated to only asanas. People who are only interested in doing the asanas, the different postures, the different exercises, because they want to maintain a healthy body, they want to maintain a slim body, they want to have a flexible body. But actually, that is only one of the 8 limbs of Ashtanga Yoga. So then comes pranayama. Pranayama means breath control. There is see here, pranayama says, it lowers the breathing cycle. When one does Ashtanga Yoga, one is breathing not so frequently. The breathing is slow. There is more concentration, focus on our breath. We take deep breaths, as deep as we can, isn't it? And then it prolongs one's life. How does deep breathing prolong one's life? What is the connection between breathing and lifespan?
Yes, everyone has the certain breath, so they control their breath so that they can increase their lifetime, isn't it?
Yes, correct. So we all have certain breaths, right? Our lifespan is not determined by a date. It's actually determined by how many breaths. So many breaths this person has in his lifetime. So when we breathe deeply, or we are breathing slower, then we are automatically expanding our lifespan. But when we do very quick breathing, then we are actually reducing our lifespan. That's why if we are going to go for these modern exercises, like going to the gym or doing some kind of vigorous physical exercises that are making us breathe faster, then actually we are reducing our lifespan. But people who practice yoga, people who practice this hatha yoga, they actually expand. They live for a longer period of time. You will see the yogis and all previously, they would only do this hatha yoga, and therefore they lived for a prolonged period of time. But nowadays, what is happening? People are into vigorous training, and that is causing us to breathe faster. We are taking more breaths in the same period of time, and therefore we're actually reducing our lifespan. And also, hatha yoga helps make the body flexible. But when you go to the gym, it makes it reduces the flexibility of your body. Okay. So after pranayama comes pratyahara. The senses are withdrawn from all external engagements. The self shifts awareness from the physical world to the inner world. So this shift is beginning to take place in the 5th stage. In the pratyahara stage, the disconnection from the external and the connection to the internal, that begins to happen in the pratyahara, and then it is further strengthened in the dharana stage. So in the dharana stage, there is absolutely no perception of sound, touch, form, taste, or smell. There is absolutely no awareness of the external world. So that's why you'll see sometimes when people are in deep meditation, you speak to them also, they will not be able to hear you because they are in this dharana stage. Then after that comes dhyana. Now that you are completely disconnected from the external world, now you can begin to meditate. Now you can discover the soul. So dhyana or meditation is actually the 7th stage of the Ashtanga Yoga. For that, to sit in your dhyana, you have to go through the first 6 stages. Because if you are trying to do dhyana without pratyahara, without dharana, and without the other previous 4 that we saw, then with the slightest of sound, that meditation will be broken. You may sit to meditate, but if the phone is vibrating, if there is somebody honking on the road, then that is going to be broken within a few seconds. So dhyana is the 7th stage of the Ashtanga Yoga. Then the final stage is the samadhi, the final goal of meditation. When one attains perfection in the Ashtanga Yoga, he can see the Paramatma. He can see the super soul face to face. Right now, the Paramatma is in the heart of each one of us, but we are not able to see the Paramatma because we are not at that advanced stage, right? But when one attains success in Ashtanga Yoga, finally he can see the Paramatma. And then what happens? See, this person is raising his consciousness from the lower chakras to the higher chakras. And he's also able to block all the other openings of his body so that the soul does not escape from any other opening. We saw in the previous class how the body, not previous, but the previous to previous class, that the body is called as a city of 9 gates. So this yogi actually, he can he can block all the openings of his body so that the soul does not leave from the other openings. And then what he does, he pushes the soul out through the top of the skull and goes wherever the consciousness is fixed at that time. The energy thus released is so immense that the body is sometimes consumed by fire. So Dhritarashtra from the Mahabharata, he went through this. When finally after the war was over and he was living with Yudhishthira, and Yudhishthira is crowned king, and then Vidura comes to the palace and he tells Dhritarashtra that it's time for you to leave the palace. How many more years are you going to be living here in the palace? How many more years are you going to be attached to this kingdom? So then Dhritarashtra, he leaves home along with Gandhari, and then he engages in Ashtanga yoga, and finally his whole body is burst into flames. And it is into this fire that Gandhari then enters and she performs sati. So these are the 8 stages of Ashtanga yoga. Only when one has reached the state of samadhi can one begin to raise the kundalini. The yogi pushes the life airs, prana, from the Mula chakra, the lowest chakra, gradually up through the other chakras of the body until it reaches the heart chakra. From its seat there, the soul rises to the highest chakra at the top of the head. Pushing the prana up through the different chakras constitutes a kundalini rising. As the kundalini is rising, the pressure inside the body becomes so great that the yogi must use the mastered asana and pranayama techniques to block all the holes in the body. So that's why this asana and the pranayama is important, the previous stages, right? So that he can block the holes in the body, lest the soul should escape through any one of them. So as we discussed previously, from where the soul leaves the body determines the next destination of the living entity, next destination of the soul. If the soul leaves the body from any of the lower openings, it means lower destination. If he leaves from the higher openings, then it means higher destination. So the Vedic literature calls the body the city of 9 gates: anus, genitals, mouth, the 2 nostrils, 2 ear holes, and 2 eyes. This type of yoga is extremely difficult to practice in the modern age. The yogis of yore would go to the forest to practice Ashtanga yoga and leave their bodies. So this type of yoga is extremely difficult to practice in Kali Yuga. This is why Krishna recommends, and thank God, thanks to Krishna, he recommends Bhakti yoga. I don't know how many of us here are capable of actually doing this Ashtanga yoga. It seems next to impossible. Maybe 1 in a quadrillion can hope to attain success. So this is the reason why Krishna recommends Bhakti yoga. Okay, we have some hands raised. Let's see.
Yeah, Hare Krishna Srinama. If the soul comes from the nose or ears, is it higher destination or the lower one?
Yeah, higher destination, higher destination. Lower destination is the anus and the genitals. If somebody at the time of passing away, higher, see, if one, at the time of passing away, some people may pass stool, some people pass urine. So that means the soul has left through the lower openings. So that means lower destination. Eyes, ears, nose, these are all higher destinations. So if the person mouth is open at the time of death, or there is some wax coming out of the earlobes, if you observe closely, somebody who has passed away, you know, if you see, sometimes there may be wax coming out of the ears. Sometimes the person has tears in the eyes. Sometimes there's mucus coming out of the nose, or sometimes the mouth is open, the saliva is coming out. So if you observe properly, you will see from which hole the person has left. But it does not mean highest destination, higher destination. Okay.
Okay.
Okay. Any other?
Hare Krishna. So that means eyes is the maximum?
No, maximum is from the top of the head. The head explodes. And you know, we all have an opening here at the top of our skull. If you know, when you see a newborn baby, if you touch there, it is very soft. Actually, there's an opening here at the top of the head. If you observe a newborn baby, it's very soft here. And with time, it becomes hard. So what happened to Dhritarashtra and what happens to a person who's following Ashtanga? See, please remember, this is Ashtanga yoga, okay? This is not what Krishna recommends. But anyway, so in Ashtanga yogi, the soul then leaves from the top of the head. So the body then bursts because of the extreme pressure, which is what happened to Dhritarashtra. That is the
This is-
highest.
But
That
this
is
is
Paramatma
nothing.
realization.
But this is nothing doing with the 9th dwar, right?
No, that
See
is
that
the 10th opening. That is not the one of the 9. Correct.
Yeah, right. Thank you.
Okay. Can we proceed?
Yes.
And one more question. These are the stages, no? One by one have to go. So how
Yes.
can Dhritarashtra, he went directly from the Samadhi yoga, Samadhi
No,
stage?
he went when he went to the forest, he followed all this. He followed Yama, Niyama, Asana. He followed all those things.
Yeah, okay. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Hare Krishna Mataji, just wanted to share something just now. What you mentioned, I met someone when I went to New Vrindavan temple in West Virginia. He lives there with his family, and he practices this Kundalini, like you said, that you have to close all the doors and raise the energy. I met somebody, and he's a devotee as well.
Oh.
And he mentioned, because I told him that from what I've heard and classes and everything, that we are told not to practice all this. But he differed. He said somewhere, some other places, Srila Prabhupada ji has said, you can do this, but it's not possible for everybody to do it. You have to have a guru. So he's in devotional service, but he does this as well.
So he's into Bhakti Yoga as well as Ashtanga Yoga.
Yes. That's what he told me.
Yes. Yeah. See, you will see that Krishna himself recommends Bhakti Yoga, and Arjuna also Arjuna admits towards the end of the chapter, Arjuna admits that he's not capable of doing this. So imagine Arjuna says that he is not capable of this. Okay, so one has to be really advanced to be able to attain success in Ashtanga Yoga, that too in the age of Kali Yuga. So if somebody is doing it, then hats off to that person. If he is able to attain success and if he's able to do it, then it means he's really, really advanced.
Because I was very happy to, after we had this conversation, really got to know him, that he told me he's gone to different worlds, he's seen different things. And he was really explaining how he does it and then what happens, what his body feels, and so forth. So just wanted to share that. Thank you. Hare
Wow.
Krishna.
Very nice. Thank you for sharing, Shivan. Okay, let's go to 6.4.
यदा हिनेन्द्रियार्थेषु न कर्मस्वनुषज्यते सर्वसङ्कल्पसन्न्यासी योगारूढस्तदोच्यते.
A person is said to be elevated in yoga when, having renounced all material desires, he neither acts for sense gratification nor engages in fruitive activities.
So here Krishna is describing the Yoga Ruda stage. So we saw that there are two stages, right? Yoga Ruruksha and Yoga Ruda. So Yoga Ruda is the advanced stage. Here Krishna is describing the Yoga Ruda or the advanced stage. So what is Krishna saying? A person is said to be elevated in yoga when? Now what are the conditions? He has renounced all material desires, number 1. Number 2, he acts neither for sense gratification. And number 3, he does not engage in fruitive activities. So if one fulfills these 3 conditions, then one is said to be in the advanced stage of Ashtanga Yoga. Now, one who's in this advanced stage may also at the same time decide to engage in Nishkama Karma Yoga out of his own, because he chooses to continue to doing his prescribed duties, although he is in the elevated stage of this Ashtanga Yoga. Reason being, just to set an example, what Krishna previously said, no, that one does not have to, if one is a devotee, one does not have to do his prescribed duties, but still you do your prescribed duties to set an example. So Krishna then gives the example of Janak Maharaj, and he also uses himself as an example of people who are elevated. They are elevated, but they still choose or want to engage in prescribed duties because they want to set an example. So such a person who fulfills these three conditions, he is elevated in yoga. Now we'll come to the next section, where there is a greater description of the yoga rudha, or the advanced stage.
उद्धरेदात्मनात्मानं नात्मानमवसादये आत्मैव ह्यात्मनो बन्धुर् आत्मैव रिपुरात्मनः.
One must deliver himself with the help of his mind and not degrade himself. The mind is the friend of the conditioned soul and his enemy as well.
So one must deliver himself with the help of his mind. Now, why is Krishna talking about the mind? Because the mind is a crucial card here. When it comes to Ashtanga Yoga, when it comes to this advanced stage, where previously Krishna was speaking about renouncing material desires, you don't have any sense, you don't act for sense gratification, you do not engage in fruitive activities. So for one to be in this advanced stage, the mind plays a great role. It's very, very important, the role that the mind has in this scene. So now Krishna is saying the mind is the friend of the conditioned soul and his enemy as well. So the mind is both your friend and your enemy. Now, under what condition it is your friend and under what condition your mind is an enemy, that Krishna will explain in the next verse. Let's see.
बन्धुरात्मात्मनस्तस्य येनात्मैवात्मना जितः अनात्मनस्तु शत्रुत्वे वर्तेतात्मैव शत्रुवः.
For him who has conquered the mind will be the best of friends. But for one who has failed to do so, his mind will remain the greatest enemy.
So the mind is your best friend if the mind is conquered. If you have conquered your mind, then your mind is your best friend. But if you have not conquered your mind, then the mind is the greatest enemy. Just like if you're in the forest and there is a wild horse, that wild horse can kill you because the horse is not controlled, he's wild. But if you can bring the horse under your control, then the horse can become your friend. Then the horse can help you come out of that forest also. You can ride on the horse and come out of the forest. So like that, if you can control the mind, if you have conquered your mind, then the mind is your best friend. But an uncontrolled mind is the greatest enemy. That is why Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur said that we have to beat our mind with shoes so many times, 100 times, in the morning, in the evening, like that. Because if the mind is uncontrolled, then we are gone for a toss. It's not that we allow the mind to dictate to us what we should do. I feel like eating so and so. No, but we have to control the mind. We have to use our intelligence. Higher than the mind is the intelligence. No, we saw previously Krishna said. So we have to use our intelligence and control the mind. Don't allow the mind to get all that the mind wants. This is how a student may want to go out and play or want to watch television. So the mind is playing the games, but the parent tells the child, no, this is not the time for you to play. You have to sit and study. So we have to overpower the mind with intelligence. So a mind that is conquered is your friend. A mind that is not conquered is the greatest enemy, Krishna is saying. The Bhagavad Gita enjoins that we elevate ourselves with our mind and not degrade ourselves with it. This intriguing verse indicates the volatile nature of our relationship with our mind. When we control our mind, our actions tend to be elevating. So when we control our mind, our actions will elevate us, will help us advance in our spiritual life. But when the mind controls us, it will lead to our degradation. So you can change your mind, but don't let your mind change you. If you see that your mind is telling you the wrong things, then you have to change your mind. But don't in any case allow your mind to change you. Use your intelligence. Use your intelligence. So how do we know if what the mind is telling me is correct or it is wrong? It is going to allow me to upgrade or it is going to make me go for a degradation. How do we know that? Very simple. We just ask the question, is this good for my spirituality or is this bad? When the mind tells me, let me go out with friends and enjoy a nice evening in a bar, having some nice alcohol. So I ask myself the question, is this good for my spirituality or is it bad for my spirituality? Is it favorable for my Krishna consciousness or it is non-favorable for my Krishna consciousness? If the answer is yes, if the answer is it is favorable for my Krishna consciousness, then I go ahead and do it. If the answer is it's not favorable for my Krishna consciousness, then immediately we have to change the mind and not vice versa. So this is the mind battle. The mind is your best friend if you control it. Your mind is your greatest enemy if it controls you. The mind is fickle. It is necessary to engage the mind by force to think of Supreme Lord Krishna. So see, you can see here, this heart here, in the heart is where the soul and the super soul reside. So the super soul is always guiding us. No, the super soul, the Paramatma is always guiding us from within. But the mind plays games. The mind is telling us not to follow what the super soul is telling us. So here you can see at gunpoint, he's saying, surrender with chanting, chanting this Hare Krishna mantra. So finally, then the mind surrenders. So now the surrendered mind is the best friend. So now they are best friends. So you can see they're going hand in hand. So when the mind is trained and the soul is not under the mind's control, the soul can be liberated even in this material world. So one can be liberated. One can be in the liberated state even while you are situated in this material world. You can remain untouched, just like the lotus leaf. We saw that analogy in the previous class. Only way to control the mind is to neglect the dictation of the mind and always chant the holy names of the Lord. So when we chant, automatically we are working towards controlling the mind. As we chant day in and day out, we will see how it makes a big difference in how we think, what our consciousness is, how we are able to overcome temptations. Everything automatically happens when we take to the chanting of the holy name. We don't have to separately endeavor. See, if one is a drug addict and you just tell him stop taking drugs, will he be able to give up drugs? No, he will not be able to give up drugs just like that, because he's already addicted, right? He's already addicted. So he needs to go and undergo proper treatment. In the same way, if we artificially try to impose restrictions that, okay, no meat eating, no intoxication, no illicit sex, no gambling, it's going to be very hard for us. But when we take to the chanting of the holy name, automatically the other things, they happen by default. It happens automatically. It's like a side benefit. We don't have to separately endeavor to do that. Anybody who's chanting will be able to tell you that. Mind is like mantra from Ramayana. See, her name is Manthara because she churned the mind of Kaikai. Everything was so set in the Ramayana, isn't it? The whole kingdom was so beautifully decorated. The people were so happy that Lord Ramachandra is going to be crowned king the next day. But then Manthara, she churned the mind of Kaikai. And what did Kaikai do? Kaikai's two mistakes were that she heard what the mind said. She just followed what the mind said. So mantra churned the mind of Kaikai and Kaikai paid heed. So her mistake was that she didn't, her mistake was that she heard what the mind said in a submissive way. And second thing is, even if you cannot avoid hearing, don't act without consulting somebody whom you trust more than the mind. So if one is in a condition where the mind is playing games with us, then we must definitely consult a senior authority. Now, in the case of Arjuna, even Arjuna's mind was playing with him. No, he was coming up with so many reasons why he should not fight the war. But what goes to Arjuna's credit is that he surrendered to Krishna. He consulted with a senior authority. He consulted with Krishna. He said, please tell me what I should do. He's telling that I am now a soul surrendered unto you. Please instruct me, Arjuna said. But Kaikai did not consult any senior authority on this subject matter. So this is another mistake that Kaikai made. First of all, she heard submissively what the mind had to say. And secondly, she did not consult any senior authority. So when the mind starts to play games with us, because we are so weak, we are not able to empower the mind, then at least we must consult with a senior devotee, consult with your spiritual master, or consult with another senior Vaishnava as to what should be the right course of action. Yeah, Rajiv Kumar, you have a question?
Yeah, Mata, we always put
Kaikeyi in the negative light. But recently I read somewhere, I don't know, God Rama became Maryada Purushottam Rama because of Kaikeyi. If not Kaikeyi, then maybe Rama would not have gone to the forest, would not have killed Ravana, would not have been Maryada Purushottam. So I think it all was kind of a play that we all play in our life, whatever God wants, and we should not put someone that is mind was not under control. We should not put under some negative light. Whatever happens for good. This is what I wanted to say.
Yeah, you're right. Actually, it's all a leela, no? It's all a pastime that the Lord plays out. So even Ravan and Hiranyakashipu and Hiranyaksh and Kumbhakaran, they were all actually Jay and Vijay, the doorkeepers of Vaikuntha. So it's all like a play. It's all like a leela. But we have to draw lessons from why this leela is being played out so that we can extract or draw the lessons. Even we say Arjuna, he did not understand. Arjuna is confused. Arjuna is asking the same question a second time. But actually, Arjuna is not confused. Arjuna is not, he's a completely pure soul. Otherwise, why would Krishna drive his chariot? So yeah, you're correct. It's all a leela. It's all a pastime. But we have to draw the lessons from that leela.
Yeah. Okay. So we all need.
Otherwise, how will we learn? Why this leela is being played out so that we can learn from these lessons. So therefore, we mentioned that yes, mantra churned Kaikeyi's mind, and Kaikeyi did not consult a senior authority. So of course, it's all a role play, it's all a leela, but we have to draw these lessons so that we can apply it in our life. Okay.
Yes. We all need one Kaikeyi or Ravana or in our life to be great, right? So, or to be Maryada Purushottam like Rama.
No, we don't need any Ravan in our life. We only need the Lord in our life. That's all. So let's not bring Ravan in our life. Okay. And nobody makes the Lord as Maryada Purushottam. He is already great. Nobody makes God great. If somebody can make God great, then that person is greater than God. So the Lord Ram is going to be Maryada Purushottam even before Ramayana, after Ramayana. It's not that Kaikeyi made him Maryada Purushottam. Okay. It's just that she became the instrument through which Ram played his pastimes. But he is already Maryada Purushottam. Okay, coming to, so if you want to summarize verses 5 and 6, then you see the control mind as a friend follows the dictation of the super soul. The control mind is detached from sense gratification, and as a result, it elevates us. But the uncontrolled mind follows the dictation of lust, anger, illusion, etc. It is attached to sense gratification, and as a result, we are degraded and we are entangled more and more in this material world. Let's go to 7.
Just one question.
Yes.
But the mind is controlled by the brain. It's what you think that comes in your mind, right?
See, the mind can be brought under control by the correct practices.
But the mind can be also toxic. I mean, it can be toxic through somebody else's mind. It can be like you have, if you believe in a normal human being, if another human being whose mind is like bad or his thinking is bad, it passes through it. And you take the same thing in your mind, isn't it? Something like that. I hope I'm explaining you well.
Yeah, I can understand what you're talking about is the association. If you associate with sinful people, it's like Kaikeyi mind was churned by mantra. So we may have many mantras around us who will try to churn our mind, isn't it? That's what you're saying.
That's what like. For instance, if somebody toxizes my head, so I will have to think. I mean, my mind will come, okay, this person is like that, or this thing should be done like that. Like, for instance, you give an example of a drug addict, right? A drug addict was never born a drug addict. He became a drug addict because he associated with somebody who was a drug addict.
Yeah, so that's the reason why across all the Shastras and all the great sages, they stress on the importance of satsanga. Satsanga means you associate with saintly people. You should not associate with such people who will churn your mind. Don't associate with mantras. Don't associate with sinful people. The quality of friends with whom you're associating with, they go a great way. Now see, sometimes for the sake of preaching, one may associate with sinful people, one may associate with karmis, one may associate with. So for that, one has to see, if you are in the stage where nobody else can churn your mind, nobody else can give. See, there are two things: give association and take association. So if you are in a position where you can give association, if you are saintly and you can give association, you have the potency that anyone who's associating with you does not give you their association, but they take your association. You understand the difference? Then you can associate with such people. So preachers, then they associate with sinful people also for the sake of preaching. Okay, but if you are not so strong enough that you will give association, instead you will take association from such sinful people, then better don't associate with such people.
Such people. That's exactly.
Right? Just like a kabaddi match. You know, in a kabaddi match, there are two parties, and one person from one side, he goes to the opposite side to tag the other people. So what he has to do, he goes to the opposite side, he has to tag that person, and he has to come back.
Right.
But if he's going to go to the opposite side, and instead of tagging the person coming back, he remains in the opposite side, then he's lost, isn't it?
Exactly,
he has lost the game.
Yeah, that's a very good example. Yeah, very good example of the kabaddi thing, because you just have to touch it and you have to return back where you were.
Yes, yes. So if you're strong enough, if you are a devotee and you're strong enough to give association, then yes, you associate with them for the sake of preaching, so that they can get benefited by your association. See, a devotee is like a touchstone. Anyone who comes in touch with a devotee becomes a devotee. Like Narada Muni, anyone who came in touch with Narada Muni became a devotee, isn't it? He has made such a great, like he cursed the sons of Kuber in Damodar Leela, and then they got benefited because they became trees in the courtyard of Krishna only, like that. So anyone who comes in touch with a devotee, he becomes a devotee. Devotee is like a touchstone. But for that, you have to be at that advanced stage. Otherwise, that's why across all the Shastras, all this, it's very much stressed that one must associate with saintly people, not with sinful people.
Exactly, because an alcoholic is not born alcoholic. He becomes an alcoholic because there's somebody in his family who's alcoholic, or the friends who are alcoholic. I mean, many reasons. Somebody who goes for gambling doesn't go by gambling alone. Even he's learned how to gamble. So it happens all over here, and you should be strong enough to control your mind in all these things.
Yes, exactly.
This is a long thing what you're doing.
Yes. But when we take to chanting the holy name, automatically that happens by default.
Okay.
Yeah, Mataji, what about the association, all the people association with Duryodhana? Like Bhisma or Dronacharya, or everyone fought for Duryodhana, right? So they were associated with Duryodhana. They were not with Dharma. What about that?
See, Bhishma was associating with Duryodhana because now Bhishma, you have to see, you have to also consider time, place, and circumstances. Now, Bhishma was in a circumstance because he had taken the vow to protect anyone who's on the throne of Hastinapur. So his circumstantial reason was such that that's why he was with Duryodhana. But his heart was on the opposite side. So you have to consider time, place, and circumstances.
Okay, so even wrongful association is justified if my heart is with on the right side.
Yeah, justified in the sense that not for the sake of sense gratification. It's okay, I can have friends who are sinful, but I am strong. One may think that he is strong, but actually he is not strong enough. Why to us? Unless the circumstances are such. For example, when you go to work, maybe your boss is the most sinful person on the planet, but still you have to go to work because you have to earn money to support your family. So that kind of association you can justify because you have to go to work, you may have colleagues. But when you have a choice, there is no circumstance that is forcing you to associate with sinful people. There you cannot justify it. It depends on time, place, and circumstances.
Is the association done through rag, moh, sneh, mamta, attachment?
Yeah,
to the wrong
association
people?
Yeah.
Association
Yeah.
can be personal, association can be through Vani, through whose lectures we hear. Now there are many speakers also who are on YouTube they talk such big things. But actually, if you go to analyze, it's only fraud. It's only, if you closely observe many of these very popular speakers on YouTube now also, across many videos, you see how they contradict themselves. And if I mean, they are able to cheat the people because people do not have the proper knowledge, no. So association can also be through Vani, through hearing. Just by hearing some lectures on YouTube, also I'm associating with that person, not necessarily only personal, physical. So yeah, there can be different kinds of association. So we should be very careful also from whom we are hearing, whose lectures are we listening to, whose Instagram, whose reels are we seeing. That is also association.
So why
Doesn't
did
Bhagavad Gita teaches us to give up more mamta, attachment? It teaches us to give up sneh, more mamta, right?
Yes.
Okay.
so why did a Brahman become a Ravan? He was associated.
Because his mother is from a demon family. No, Ravan's mother is a demon and his father was a sage. So he was this potent combination. He had the intelligence of a sage and he had the physical strength of the demon, mentality of a demon. His mother was from a demon family. So that's why he was so powerful.
You gave me half of the question. So now the other half of the question. If a Brahman becomes a Ravan because of his parents, so parents can even wrongly associate their own children?
Oh, yes, definitely. Most of the human population, the parents are misguiding the children. Most of them, because how many parents are raising their children in spirituality? Nowadays, a parent is worried if the child becomes spiritual. If the child takes to chanting, if the child leaves onion and garlic, there are so many students, even in our online class, they write to me offline that my parents are not liking that I attend this class. My parents are not liking that I want to give up onion and garlic. Because parents are themselves afraid if the children are taken to spirituality. So that's the nature of Kali Yuga, unfortunately.
Actually, that's the reason I asked you this question of Ravan, because I knew Ravan was a Brahman before. And a Brahman, and what you said is right, because half his mother was from a demon family and the father was a sage. So he got associated through his parents and he became a Ravan.
Yes.
That's the thing. All right, I got the answer. Thank you.
Even with the Prahlad Maharaj.
Yeah, Prahlad, he was born only in a demon family, but he got the association of whom?
Narada.
Narada Muni. When he was in the womb of his mother only, he got the association of Narada, no? So see the power of association of a devotee. Okay. Let's hear 7.
जितात्मनः प्रशान्तस्य परमात्मा समाहितः शीतोष्णसुखदुःखेषु तथा मानापमानयोः.
For one who has conquered the mind, the supersoul is already reached, for he has attained tranquility. To such a man, happiness and distress, heat and cold, honor and dishonor are all the same.
See, now in verses 7, 8, 9, Krishna is talking about the symptoms of a person who has controlled his mind. Remember, Krishna previously has spoken about mind control. So what are the symptoms of a person who has his mind under control? Krishna here, for 7, 8, 9, he's going to discuss that. So what is he saying? For one who has conquered the mind, the super soul is already reached. So he has already, so although he is in the material world, he's already reached the super soul. For he has attained tranquility. To such a man, happiness and distress, heat and cold, honor and dishonor are all the same. So Sitoshna, Sukha Dukha, Mana and Apamana. It's the same. He's not disturbed by these dualities. See, Sitoshna, heat and cold is on the physical level. Sukha Dukha, happiness and distress is on the mental level. Mana, Apamana, honor and dishonor is on the egoistic level. So equanimity is on the physical, mental and egoistic level for one who has controlled his mind or conquered his mind. Let's go to 6.8.
ज्ञानविज्ञानतृप्तात्मा कूटस्थो विजितेन्द्रियः Yukta ityuchyate yogi samaloshprashmakanchanaha.
A person is said to be established in self-realization and is called a yogi or mystic when he is fully satisfied by virtue of acquired knowledge and realization. Everything, whether it to be pebbles, stones, or gold, as the same.
So more symptoms of a person who has his mind under control. What is that? He is fully satisfied. See, Krishna used the word tript atma. So he's satisfied. He was completely satisfied by what? By jnana and vijnana, by acquired knowledge and realization. Now, jnana, acquired knowledge, is the theoretical knowledge. Now, what we are getting here, what we are doing in these classes is jnana, theoretical knowledge. Now, application of the knowledge is up to all of us, how much we are going to apply this knowledge in our life. So that is vijnana. So jnana and vijnana, acquired knowledge and realized knowledge. Then Krishna says such a person is situated in transcendence and is self-control. Now such a person, he sees everything, whether it is pebbles, stones, or gold, as the same. So he's seeing with an equal vision pebbles, stone, or gold, because all three are equally useless for his spiritual advancement. But one who is materialistic, oh, if he sees gold, he sees it differently. But if he sees pebbles and stones, he sees it differently, isn't it? But that's not the case of one who has his mind under control. See, gold is called as Kanchana here. We say in our prayers, no, Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari. So Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi is because Srimati Radharani, her complexion is golden. She's golden complexion. That's why she's called Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi. So Jnana Vijnana, it begins with hearing. And when what enters our ears, then we contemplate on it. And after contemplating on it, then we apply that knowledge. So here it involves the heart. So jnana and vijnana, both are important. We have to have the knowledge and we also have to apply the knowledge. This knowledge is not that, okay, I attend the classes, I give the exams, I get 100 marks in the exam. Very nice. Jnana, perfect. You have acquired the knowledge. You're able to answer all the questions, you have 100 marks. But if you're not able to apply the knowledge, then what is the use of that knowledge? So application, one may get even a paltry 40% in the exam. But if he's able to apply even 1% of what one has learned, then one is successful. See, at the time of death, only our bhakti can save us. A person who, because he sees pebbles and stones and gold, everything as equal, he understands that all these things are only extra baggages. He understands that at the time of death, all this is going to be taken away from me at the time of death. Sorry, sir, no baggages are allowed. So what is the use of working so hard day in and day out? We never invested anything to boost our spiritual bank balance. So the time of death, only our bhakti can save us, not this body, not our family, neither fame, nor wealth, nor contacts, nor any power. All will be ash, dust, or stool. So if the body is burnt, it will be converted to ash. If the body is buried, it will be converted to dust. If the body is eaten by wild animals, it will be converted to stool. But the holy name of Sri Krishna alone is capable enough to save us from this disaster, from any doom. The name of Krishna is non-different from Krishna. When we chant the name of Krishna, then Krishna is personally present in that name. Krishna is not different from his name. The last verse for the day.
Sahranmitryaryudasinam adhyastadveshya bandhushu sadhushvapi cha papeshu samabuddhirvishishyate.
A person is considered still further advanced when he regards honest well-wishers, affectionate benefactors, the mutual mediators, the envious, friends and enemies, the pious, and the sinners all with an equal mind.
So previously Krishna said one one sees stones and pebbles and gold equally. Here he's going to a more advanced stage because this is more difficult for one to follow. What is that? To see everyone with an equal vision. What is that? Your well-wishers, your benefactors, those who are neutral, the mediators, the envious, the friends, your enemies, the pious and sinners. See all of them with an equal mind. Sama buddhir, Krishna says. So suhrin means well-wishers. Mitra means benefactors, benefactors with affection. Ari means enemies. Udasina, neutrals between belligerents, which is if there are two parties who are fighting and one is neutral, then he's called Udasina. Then Madhyastha. Madhyastha means mediators between them, which is they try to mediate and try to get a solution out of that, right? They're mediating between the two conflicting parties. Then Dveshya, the enemies. Then Bandhusu, the relatives, your well-wishers, your family members. Then Sadhusu. Sadhusu means the pious people. And then Papeshu, or the sinners. So one sees all of them with the equal intelligence or equal mind. So such a person, this is another characteristic of one who has his mind under control. So with this, we come to the end of the first two sections of this chapter. We will see section 3 in the next class, if Krishna so sanctions. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Srimad Bhagavad Gita ki jai.
Mataji, I have a question about the last sloka that you did. So like every sinner has to be seen also with an equal mind, like the example given here. But like if someone, how do we see everybody like an equal mind? Like if someone wants us to do drugs, we have to see them with an equal eye and equal mind. How does that work? Like what is an example given?
Yeah, so the thing, seeing with an equal mind is in the sense we don't see the person with animosity, we don't see the person with hatred, we don't see the person say that, oh, this person is so fallen and I think that I am a devotee. No, one devotee sees everyone with compassion. Everyone with compassion. So when somebody sees somebody who's into drugs, a drug addict, then one
Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna.
Can you all hear me?
Yeah, now we can hear.
Okay, I got disconnected. So when we see somebody who's a drug addict, as you said, then we see first of all we be grateful that we are not in that position because we have received the mercy of Guru and Krishna. Two, we can see what we can do so that he can also get the mercy of Guru and Krishna. Is there anything that we can do to help him out? And three, always pray to Krishna that please, my dear Lord Krishna, please keep me away from Maya and please help me not get degraded and come to that condition. So seeing with equal vision means you don't look at the person as though he's so rotten and fallen and I am an elevated devotee. No, you see everybody with compassion. That's what it means. Does that answer your question?
If some, okay. If some, I guess. So just don't take anything serious, no matter what a person wants you to get involved or engage in. Don't take him serious or her serious. Just take it as it. You have to be mercy to everybody. You have to be merciful or compassionate to everybody. Let the person do whatever they want. If they want to involve you in other stuff other than devotional service, just be like, this is Bhagwan ki kripa that is coming to you, and it will leave at the time of Bhagwan ki kripa, and your mind should be steady fast, like the Bhagavad Gita teaches. I guess that's what you mean to say.
No, it's not that let them do whatever they want. No, you try and help them as far as possible. Somehow or the other, you help them or you get them in touch with devotees
Some
or
people
let
are
them go
very
to the temple. And if nothing is working, at least give them prasad. Prasad is something that anybody would receive.
Yes. Thank you. Hare Krishna.
Okay, what else? Anything else we need to discuss? Okay, since there are no more
Mataji,
questions. Yes.
can I call you after the class? I need to speak to you if possible.
Yes, we can talk, no problem.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. All right, then. Have a nice week in Krishna consciousness until next Saturday. Vancha kalpatarovyascha kripa sindhu vyayevacha patitanam pavanebhyo vaishnavebhyo namo namaha. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Srimad
Jai.
Jai.
Jai. Our Grace Saran Mata Ji ki jai. Bhagavad Gita class ki jai. Hare Krishna and pranams to all.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna Mataji.
Hare Krishna, Dandavad Pranam.
Thank you
Hare
so much.
Krishna Mataji.
Mataji.
Hare Krishna. Thank you so much.